Hello, folks. Welcome to the channel where I talk about web, node, and developer productivity related tools. Today, I want to give you a deep walkthrough into Meta Viewport tag. Uh, so, let's take a look at how the page looks as of now, right? This is how it looks for desktop. This is how it looks for tablet. It's very small font size, right? Let's take a look at what's happening here. Okay, so as you can see here, the width that is set by the dev tool is 768. Let's find out what's the window dot inner width. That's weird, right? It's not matching to the number. Okay, let's find out what's the width of the viewport, right? Viewport is also same 980 pixels. That's weird. Where did this 980 came from? So 980 comes from very old browsers or old monitors where they were kind of square monitors or the CRT monitors. And browser basically assumes that your site is not responsive and it renders assuming that uh, it's mostly good to render it with 980 pixel width, and then it basically shrinks it down, right, by that much of percentage, right? So uh, that's what is happening here. The browser has basically rendered the site or the page assuming the required width is 980 pixel, but then realize the device is not 980 pixel wide, so it shrinks it down to fit it into 768. Now, in order to read this thing, user will have to pinch zoom this, right? And then they can read it. There's nothing wrong in this. But the problem is about experience. User generally don't like the horizontal scroll, right? The natural tendency of user is to just do the whole vertical scroll. So how do we make sure that this is good looking even in these kind of browsers, right? You simply need to add something like this: data viewport content is equal to width is equal to device width, and initial scale is equal to 1. Width is what, so with this particular meta tag, you are basically telling the browser that I want the viewport size to be exactly of the size of the device width, which in this case is 768. So you are telling that the viewport size, which was 980 pixel, now should be exactly as the device width, which is 768. So that's as good as instructing that I want the viewport size to be 768 pixels, right? So let's take a look at visual viewport again. Wow, we have got the stuff, right? And if we check window dot inner width, uh, it's giving us again the same thing, right? It's exactly matching the stuff. So how does this help? Let's now go to some smaller screen devices. If I go here, it is actually very good, and I can read it, right? It fits here. I don't have to do pinch zoom. I don't have any horizontal scroll. Everything looks fine. Cool. So most of the time, this is what you need in order to make your site responsive. I'll tell you another thing that how this affects CSS. But before that, I want to tell you other aspect. So you can give here a hard-coded height or hard-coded width as well, right? So you can say, okay, I want it to be 500 pixels, and this is minimum width you are telling. So if the device is more wider than 500 pixels, it will go to that device width and not stick to 500. But if the device is less wide than 500 pixel, then it will make sure that it's rendered user 500 pixel, right? So here, if you see, I now have a horizontal scroll, right? Let's take a look at visual viewport, right? Although it's saying it's 360 pixels, uh, it's actually rendering it in 500 pixel wide viewport. So if we take a look at window dot inner width, it's 500 pixels, right? So now you must have understood the difference between viewport and the window or the screen, right? So my viewport is this, but my window is the whole thing, right? Including the horizontal scroll and everything. The content that is not visible is also part of my window or the screen. Uh, so that's what the basic difference between window or screen and viewport is, right? Let's try to see how this behaves in iPad or any other thing, right? So let me do this, right? As you can see, there is no more horizontal scroll. Why? Because 500 is less than 768 and device has more space than 500. So browser will internally take care and decide that okay, 768 is more than 500. That means device has more space. I can occupy the remaining space as well, and the browser will basically disregard this 500 pixel, and it will take 768 to be the screen size as well as the viewport size, right? That's what is happening here. Okay, now what does the role of initial scale is, right? So let's go back to Moto G4. If I change the scale to maybe say 1.5, you'll see that the text basically should zoom in, right? There is a zoom in. So you are basically again increasing the viewport. Let's take a look at window dot inner width, right? It is 500 pixels again. How does this came out to be 500 pixels? Because of this. Let's try to change it to device hyphen width, right? It's back, right? Still there is horizontal scroll. Why? Let's take a look at window dot inner width. It is coming out to be 360. Let's take a look at viewport. Okay, that's weird. That is not matching to what we were expecting. So this width got calculated exactly from 360 divided by what was our initial scale is 1.5, right? That's where the 240 number comes in from, and that's where the viewport got calculated, right? But why is there horizontal scroll, right? So you are basically telling that the viewport is 240 width wide. That means this visual area is now considered to be 240 pixels, and the whole window is considered to be 360 pixels. That's why there is horizontal scroll, right? Similarly, you can use any number like zero point 0.8, and then it will look like it's zoomed out, right? It looks like it's zoomed out, right? There is still some margin here. If I change it to zero point 0.5, you will see that uh, there is no horizontal scroll, but the font size seems kind of on the lower side. Okay, that's pretty much about it. There are other things like minimum scale. You can tell it to be zero point 0.2, comma maximum scale. You can tell it to be maybe say 2. Let's change the initial scale back to 1. Right. Let's take a look at how it behaves. I can still now pinch and zoom, right? But I can't go beyond a certain point. So if I take a look at visual viewport again, I am not able to go scale beyond 2. So I can't magnify beyond 2x, right? That's the meaning of it. That I can magnify as max as 2x, and I can minimum zoom out as max as 0.2x, right? But this initial scale is 1, so it won't even go less than 1, right? In order to go to minimum scale, this has to match. The minimum scale has to be greater than or equal to initial scale. That's the rule here. Okay, now let's take a look at what role does this have into your CSS. So when you change your width, right? Let me uh, open this media tag. Right here I am saying that if my viewport is greater than 480 pixels, then the text color should be red, which it is not right now, right? So if we take a look at viewport width, it is 360 pixels, right? Let's try to go to, or let's try to set the viewport width to 500 pixels. Right now it should turn red, right? It's turning in red. That's how the media queries in CSS work. I wanted to highlight this because very few people know that uh, actually screen size is not respected or window size is not respected in CSS. Your viewport size is always respected, right? And that's why I just wanted to highlight this particular thing. uh, that's all I had for this video. Hopefully you like. uh, Comment on the video if you have any suggestion, you find anything that can be covered in the upcoming videos. Till then, bye bye and see you in the next one. Thank you.